Okay, let's read another Rambler by Dr. Johnson. Today, Rambler number 30 for June 30th, 1750. The title of which is The Observance of Sunday Recommended an Allegory. Let me read that again. The Observance of Sunday Recommended an Allegory. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue until you get the second try. Okay, there's a bit of Latin here. I'll skip that. By Horace, no less. And here's a quote by Elphinston. Whenever thy countenance divine the attendant people cheers, the genial sun's more radiant shine, the day more glad appears. Okay, it looks like this one's in the form of a letter to Dr. Johnson, which I expect Dr. Johnson penned himself as his vehicle of communicating ideas. Mr. Rambler, there are few tasks more ungrateful than for persons of modesty to speak their own praises. In some cases, however, this must be done, for the general good and a generous spirit will, on such occasions, assert its merit and vindicate itself with becoming warmth. My circumstances, sir, are very hard and peculiar. Could the world be brought to treat me as I deserve, it would be a public benefit. This makes me apply to you, that, my case being fairly stated in a paper so generally esteemed, I may suffer no longer from ignorant and childish prejudices. My elder brother was a Jew, a very respectable person, but somewhat austere in his manner, highly and deservedly valued by his near relations and intimates, but utterly unfit for mixing in a larger society, or gaining a general acquaintance among mankind. In a venerable old age he retired from the world, and I, in the bloom of youth, came into it, succeeding him in all his dignities, and formed as I might reasonably flatter myself to be the object of universal love and esteem. Joy and gladness were born with me. Cheerfulness, good humor, and benevolence always attended and endeared my infancy. That time is long past, so long that idle imaginations are apt to fancy me wrinkled, old, and disagreeable. But unless my looking-glass deceives me, I have not yet lost one charm, one beauty of my earliest years. However, this far is too certain. I am to everybody just what they chose to think me, so that to very few I appear in my right shape. And though naturally I am a friend of humankind, to few, very few comparatively, am I useful or agreeable. This is the more grievous, as it is utterly impossible for me to avoid being in all sorts of places and companies, and I am therefore liable to meet with perpetual affronts and injuries, though I have as natural an antipathy to cards and dice as some people have to a cat. Many are an assembly am I forced to endure, and though rest and composure are my peculiar joy, am worn out and harassed to death with journeys by men and women of quality, who never take one but when I can be of the party. Some, on the contrary extreme, will never receive me but in bed, where they spend at least half the time I have to stay with them, and others are so monstrously ill-bred as to take physic on purpose when they have reason to expect me. Those who keep upon terms of more politeness with me, pardon me. Those who keep upon terms of more politeness with me are generally so cold and constrained in their behavior that I cannot but perceive myself an unwelcome guest. And even among persons deserving of esteem, and who certainly have a value for me, it is too evident that generally whenever I come I throw a dullness over the whole company, that I am entertained with a formal stiff civility, and that they are glad when I am fairly gone. How bitter must this kind of reception, be to one formed to inspire delight, admiration, and love, to one capable of answering and rewarding the greatest warmth and delicacy of sentiments. I was bred upon a set of excellent people who affectionately loved me and treated me with the utmost honor and respect. It would be tedious to relate the variety of my adventures and strange vicissitudes of my fortune in many different countries. Here in England there was a time when I lived according to my heart's desire. Whenever I appeared, public assemblies appointed for my reception were crowded with persons of quality and fashion, early dressed for the court, to pay me their devoirs. I don't know that word. Excuse me. Cheerful hospitality everywhere were crowned my board. Cheerful hospitality everywhere crowned my board, and I was looked upon in every country parish as a kind of social bond between the squire, the parson, and the tenants. The laborious poor everywhere blessed my appearance. They do so still, and keep best clothes to do me honor. Though as much as I delight in the honest country folk, they do now and then throw a pot of ale at my head, and sometimes an unlucky boy will drive his cricket ball full in my face. Even in these my best days there were persons who thought me too demure and grave. I must, forsooth, by all means, be instructed by foreign masters and taught to dance and play. This method of education was so contrary to my genius, formed for much nobler entertainments, that it did not succeed at all. I fell next into the hands of a very different set. They were so excessively scandalized at the gaiety of my appearance as not only to despoil me of the foreign fopperies, the paint and the patches that I had been tricked out with by my last misjudging tutors, but they robbed me of every innocent ornament I had from my infancy been used to gather in the fields and gardens. Nay, they blacked my face, and covered me all over with a habit of mourning, and that was too coarse and awkward. I was now obliged to spend my whole life in hearing sermons, not permitted so much as to smile upon any occasion. In this melancholy disguise I became a perfect bugbear to all children and young folks. Wherever I came there was a general hush, and immediate stop to all pleasantness of look or discourse. And not being permitted to talk with them in my own language at that time, they took such a disgust to me in those tedious hours of yawning, and having transmitted it to their children, I cannot now be heard, though it is long since I have recovered my natural form and pleasing tone of voice. Would they but receive my visits kindly, and listen to what I could tell them, let me say it without vanity, how charming a companion should I be. To every one could I talk on the subjects most interesting and most pleasing, with the great and ambitious. I would discourse of honors and advancements, of distinctions to which the whole world should be witness, of unenvied dignitaries and durable preferments. To the rich, I would tell of inexhaustible treasures and the sure method to attain them. I would teach them to put out their money on the best interest, and instruct the lovers of pleasure how to secure and improve it to the highest degree. The beauty should learn of me how to preserve an everlasting bloom. To the afflicted I would administer comfort and relaxation to the busy. As I dare promise myself, you will attest the truth of all I have advanced. There is no doubt but many will be desirous of improving their acquaintance with me, and that I may not be thought too difficult, I will tell you in short how I wish to be received. You must know I equally hate lazy idleness and hurry. I would everywhere be welcomed as at a tolerably early hour with decent good humor and gratitude. I must be attended in the great halls, peculiarly apportioned to me, with respect, but I do not insist upon finery. Propriety of appearance and perfect neatness is all I require. I must at dinner be treated with a temperate but cheerful social meal. Both the neighbors and the poor should be the better for me. Sometime I must have tete-a-tete with my kind entertainers, and the rest of my visit should be spent in pleasant walks and airings among sets of agreeable people. In such discourses I shall naturally dictate, or in reading some few selected out of the numberless books that are dedicated to me and go by my name. A name that is, alas, as the world stands at present, makes them oftener thrown aside than taken up. Oh my goodness, part of the word is missing. A something conversations in books should be both well chosen. I don't know. To give, I don't know what that word is. Something. It's a something conversations. A something conversations, I don't know what the word. And books should be both well chosen. To give some advice on that head may possibly furnish you with a future paper, and anything you shall offer on my behalf will be of great service to good Mr. Rambler, your faithful friend and servant, Sunday. Oh my goodness, I get it. Sunday, it's Sunday personified. That's heavy. "58 years. And I haven't been as, even though he said it in the title, right? I mean, I just didn't get it. I thought he was going to, the observance of Sunday recommended, an allegory. I didn't get it from the title. That's Sunday talking to the Rambler, saying that well, you read it. You read it with me. What a pleasant little allegory. Wow, 58 years of reading, and it's not often that I get taken aback in such a pleasant and uplifting manner as that. How beautifully well written. Now consider, of course, that Dr. Johnson was a devout Christian, and so he would have taken an Anglican, and I believe Anglicans celebrate Sunday as the Sabbath day. So he would have taken Sunday with quite seriousness. This is that, he's I don't need to go into it. You all know. This is beautiful. Really, really nice. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. I really enjoyed that one.